All right, it is 10 o'clock. All right, everybody, cameras on. You realize I can see if your camera's not on, so I need them on. Thank you. Appreciate that. Don't care how you look this morning. Everybody looks beautiful. So don't, I know y'all are probably scrambling going, I wasn't planning to have my camera on. Nope, got to turn them on. All right, so this morning we have one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world, Dr. Megan Smith, as your speaker today. She is so much fun and just a kindred spirit. So, Dr. Megan Smith is an assistant professor in a pharmacy practice at the UAMS College of Pharmacy. She is also a board certified ambulatory care pharmacist. She is an advocate for elevating community pharmacy practice through teaching and research. She is the residency program director for the UAMS PGY1, which is postgraduate year one community based residency program, and helped to launch the Arkansas Community Pharmacy Enhanced Services Network. She obtained her doctorate of pharmacy degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, UNC, Eshelman School of Pharmacy, completed a PGY1 community pharmacy residency at Kerdrug, and completed training in practice based research and education through a community pharmacy research fellowship, also at UNC. She is an active member of APHA, the chapter co advisor for the NCPH student chapter here at UAMS, and a member of the Arkansas Pharmacists Association. And so Dr. Smith is community, if community pharmacy were a person, it'd be her. She's like community pharmacy, hashtag community pharmacy. That's her. So, Dr. Smith, I have made you co host. You guys have just come in. Please turn on your cameras. I've made you co host, Dr. Smith, so you can share your screen and do all the things you need to do. And if you're going to share a full screen, you may not be able to see the chat, but this class has several people who will monitor the chat for you. And there you go, guys. So I'm going to turn you over to Dr. Megan Smith.
So much. Can you hear me okay? I forgot to switch to phone.
Yes, we can hear you well.
It's like way over there. Okay. Perfect. Alrighty, so today we are discussing medication education. Before I do that, though, I did want to say to everyone that I enjoyed. I'm one of the small group leaders, and I enjoyed our discussions about CVs earlier this week. And something that was probably my fault that I should have told all of the small group leaders is that we do have a community dedicated to postgraduate um, interests. If you have an interest in doing any postgraduate training that is open to everyone, you are all automatically enrolled in this community. But whether or not you're thinking about wanting to do a residency or fellowship or an advanced degree, there are some still resources in there that can be helpful for you. One being a CV review. So we have a bunch of CV resources that are there. It's under the General Resources tab, and if you pull up that community at the on the left, you'll see General Resources, but then you'll also see a CV review request, and that we check that every week. So we have a committee that's over it that checks it. So anytime over the next 3-4 years that you're with us and you want a CV to be checked by someone different that you haven't asked before, you can put in a CV review request right there. We monitor that on a weekly basis. I keep hearing, I closed my, do y'all hear those dings? Is that me or is that Zoom? I'm not sure. Yeah, I should shut down my email. Make sure that that right there. Did y'all hear that? No?
I don't I don't think I heard anything.
You didn't hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. All right. I'll just ignore these things, whatever they are. Okay. So just wanted to let you know about that resource if you wanted someone to review your CVs. We have a perpetual CV review request in there. Okay, today we're talking about medication education. And as Dr. White said, I am community pharmacy gung ho all the way. That's where all of my experience, professional experience, has been in. So if I have any stories that randomly come out, it'll probably be from the community pharmacy experience. Um, we have a few things about this. This is one piece of communication that we're going to be talking about, and you're going to continue to learn throughout the curriculum. Today's focus is when I have a medication bottle, for example, if I have this, and I'm going to give you this medication, what do I need to tell you about it? I'm taking, if someone has a prescription medication or if they're taking it over the counter, whatever the thing is, that tablet, that suppository, that whatever that they're going to take, what do I need to communicate to you about this thing? There is so much more around communication strategies that you're going to learn. For example, in motivational interviewing, you're going to get with Dr. O'Brien, and patient interviewing, you will get with Dr. Stafford, both in the spring and in your P2 year. So this is just one piece and one type of communication. Motivational interviewing is where you really learn about how to get the patient on board and agreeable, and they can come up with a plan with you and kind of overcoming some initial resistance and barriers that they might be presenting to you. Like, I don't want to do that. So what do you do in that situation? Patient interviewing is all about how do I gather information like from a patient? How do I pull out the stuff that I need to know as a pharmacist to assess the situation most appropriately? What do I need to know from that patient? And gaining that information from them. That's what that lecture is going to be about, and those activities. You have activities with both of those in practice and practicing in the course, but then we also have OSCE examples too. But today is really about, okay, I got this thing. How do I tell you about this thing and what it is? And so that is our focus. So our objective is, what is our responsibility for counseling about medications? How to assess the needs, the education needs of the patients. We use a thing called prime questions, so we're reviewing what that is. And then a couple of successful communication strategies overall, just to ensure that patients understand what you're telling them, because you are going to be giving them a lot of information. As you've probably have already experienced in the last 2 months of getting on board in pharmacy school, you're learning a lot. And so how do you take that and make it to something a patient can understand? So first, we are required federally to provide education and provide counseling. And this is through the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990, and we like to call this OBRA 90 for short. OBRA 90 has several things with it. There are 3 listed here. One, it established a prospective drug utilization review, which essentially says, I'm looking at the medications, I'm looking at it for drug interactions or across their profile, if this is appropriate, if this is safe. So that you're definitely doing that before a medication gets dispensed. It also establishes record keeping requirements, how long you need to keep your files, how long you keep your hard copies, those types of things. And then the last thing is a requirement to offer counseling. That's important, that the federal legislation says you have to offer counseling. Now the states get to choose how they do that. So how is this going to be face-to-face? Is this required? Can this be over the phone? Do they have to sign off on it? Like what, all of those types of things, those questions are left to the states to decide. So OBRA 90 tells us we have to counsel. It also tells us what we should be counseling on. So this is the most comprehensive list of how do I describe this thing? What are all the components of this medication bottle or this medication here that I need to get across? So what we're going to do today, that can be just kind of a long list of, I need to tell you that the drug is for. Name. It's a long list. It can be kind of boring. So I want to make it a little less boring and a little more realistic for you, and let you see how you can take information from an actual medication. And we're going to use the example like Cinepril. And a lot of times what you're using as your reference is the drug monograph. That'll usually be the first place that you start. And then as you get into your P2 year and P3 year, you'll learn about therapeutics within, and you'll learn more about beyond the drug monograph, what does the primary literature say about these particular medications and how to treat these patient populations. But if you want to find the one place that tells you everything you need to know about the specific medication from the manufacturer of just what it is and what's in it, you go to the drug monograph. And those can be very, very long. So what I've done is I took lisinopril and I cut out a bunch of sections just to make it a little bit easier to use in class today. And so I've sent you that link in Google. It's a Google Drive link. I put it in the chat. Has anybody already pulled that up? Yes, I see some nods. Y'all see that? Okay, good. So I want you to take a minute to look at that document. It's 7 pages, but it's a listing of things. And I want you to just get familiar with the document. You can have it open while we go through each of the over 90 components. But I want you to have an idea of what's in there. So I'm going to be quiet for just a minute and a half, let you read through. You don't have to memorize it. Don't try to read every word, but go, oh, look, here's a whole list of drug interactions. Oh, look, this is what this is. So I just want you to get familiar in that abbreviated monograph. And I'm going to let you do that for a minute. Thanks for resharing that link. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to at least just kind of skim over it. And we're going to use that as a backbone of our example of what over 90 components are. We're going to go step by step, and I'm going to get to know you guys a little bit more. And instead of just the first person to put into the chat, I have different categories of questions to ask you. So wait until you're called on as we go through it so you can see the different categories we're looking for today. So the first one is the name of the drug. So those I want to put in the chat are if you were not born in Arkansas. If you were not born in Arkansas, what is the name of the drug? Brand, generic, or other descriptive information. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Lisinopril.
Yay, lisinopril. So we had someone, and Emily's not born in Arkansas. Awesome. Not born in Arkansas. A whole bunch of names in Canada. Yes. Lisinopril. So we had, yes, another Prenavil and Zestril are the brand names. Dylan, thank you. Exactly. So how I might say this to a patient is, this drug is lisinopril. It also could be called Prenavil or Zestril. It is because patients don't always understand that the same drug could go by different names, like brand, generic. A lot of them are familiar with that there is a generic, but just like what those names are and that this particular, it's actually the exact same drug, yes. So it is important to give them both options because they could see it either way, and both names might be printed on their bottle. So just to let them know about that. Awesome. Okay, the next one is intended use and expected action. So if you were in my small group, I want to hear from my small group folks about intended use and expected action.
It's for hypertension.
Hypertension, yes. It's for hypertension, and its use is to what? Lower blood pressure, probably, if you have hypertension. Okay. Yay. So we expect this to lower blood pressure. You also might see some things in that monograph about heart failure, some things, and those would be applicable and correct as well. That's just an introduction to, hey, we do use medications for various things. And when we're in the community setting, we don't always know what those are. So sometimes this one, we actually have to ask the patient, so what are you using this for? Or we have to use other context clues to figure out which one might be, what might that be treating. Okay, perfect. Next one is a long one. Route, dosage form, dosage, and administration schedule. So for this one, for anyone that right now is kind of maybe sort of interested in community pharmacy, anyone kind of maybe sort of interested in community pharmacy, give me what the route, any of these, route, dosage form, dosage, and administration schedule for lisinopril. Great, Jenny, oral. She said oral. Oral tablet or solution, oral suspension, it comes in. In our chat, the first one to do the administration schedule was Catherine, 4 to 6 milligrams once a day. Tablet, maybe taking one without food. Okay, great, Jason. Oral once daily. Right, so oral is our route, dosage form is our tablet or suspension. Dosage would be the milligram, specific milligram, and the administration schedule, whether it's once a day. Okay, perfect. Good. Is this fun? I like it. That's a good way to do it. Okay. Rather than just show you a list. The next is common severe side effects or adverse effects or interactions. Boy, it's a real long one. The group to respond to this one is my procrastinators. If you are a procrastinator, self-proclaimed procrastinator, what are some common severe side effects or adverse effects for lisinopril? All right, Jason, this hypertension, dizziness, oh my gosh, we have so many self-declared procrastinators. Yes, Kara, I miss this too because this lecture, I'm usually walking all around, I'm passing out stuff, it's a lot of fun. Cough, diarrhea, increased BUN, probably blood urea nitrogen. Okay, also side note, if you are not as familiar with lab values, you call BUN, BUN. You don't call it BUN. Call it BUN, you're going to embarrass yourself in front of your team, in front of the medical team. Okay, just say that. Side note. All right, thank you. So those are all side effects, common side effects for lisinopril. You are going to get better at knowing which ones to describe to a patient. That's just a good example of what all there's a lot listed on the monographs. The next is techniques for monitoring, for self-monitoring of drug therapy. So what's an example of self-monitoring for drug therapy? My next group is if you went to bed after midnight last night. Okay, so no one went to bed after midnight. What about after 11? All right, we got a couple of people after 11 to take your blood pressure, says Lauren. So Lauren might be our night owl, maybe, or maybe just last night. Okay, yes. So this medication, the intended use is to lower our blood pressure, and that is, so a technique for self-monitoring is to take your blood pressure. Absolutely. Next one is proper storage. That is, so if anybody's ever broken a bone, anybody find how they store this medication? Everybody's broken a bone. Room temp, here we go. Okay. Yes, room temp, keep away from moisture. Absolutely. Good job. Good job finding that one. Okay, the next one is potential drug-drug interactions or drug disease contraindications. This is for anyone who's traveled overseas.
Tizanidine.
Nadine, all right. Thank you. You know Danielle, right? Yes. Thank you. Habituates, Systemi, Gloria, Duloxetine. There's a whole list on there, yeah? Like a page and a half. And I actually took some out. So I was like, I don't need 3 pages of drug interactions. Yes, they are there in the monograph. That's how you find them. Our dispensing software does really well at kind of flagging major ones as well for you. We've had a few people go overseas. Excellent. The next one is prescription refill information. So this is for if you have a pet, but now I just realized, well, that's not going to be on the monograph. So the prescription refill for this particular one obviously will depend on the individual patient of whether they're given 1 refill, 2, 3, a whole year's worth, and just needing to explain that or letting that patient know when to come back and how long this medication will last. And the last one is action to be taken in the event of a missed dose. That's for anyone who is a MAC user. Who are MAC users out there?
Oh, what kind of user?
Mac, like a Macintosh, Apple.
Okay, I'm with you now. Sorry.
Anybody found that on there? Open up to anyone. All these users.
I mean, if they're using a Mac, it might take them a little longer.
I'm a dual user. I've got both. Okay. Oops, sorry. But this one is in the event of lisinopril, it's to take it as soon as you remember. Don't double up. You don't want to take 2 doses at once if they've missed one. Okay, so that is a list of all the things you're supposed to tell somebody about this thing. Now that can be a lot, right? And that can be a lot to keep in your head. Like if you're going to tell 9 different types of things to a patient, how much are they really going to be able to retain? So we're going to talk about that. We also talked about that states can do whatever how they want to implement that counseling requirement. So let's review Arkansas. In Arkansas, we are required to do face-to-face counseling for new prescriptions. The first time that they're taking this or they're getting this, they need to be counseled face-to-face. If that person or the caregiver is not there, then you have to make a reasonable effort. You're also required to counsel any discharge medications upon discharge from the hospital. Arkansas regulations does include additional components than the ones that are included in over 90 that we just reviewed. Those include significant interactions with over-the-counter drugs, if it's affected by food, and that you're always there to answer questions if they ever have something come up later. For refills, Arkansas has said, well, you can present the opportunity to counsel, but you're not required to counsel on refills. So that's what Arkansas law is. So if you are going to practice in Arkansas, you need to Be aware of what counseling you're required to do. So new face-to-face counseling on all new prescriptions. It's a big thing. Okay. Now it can be really, like I just mentioned, that list is really, really long, and trying to tell somebody, here's all the things you need to know, how much they're going to be able to retain is probably very low if you just go in a complete list like the one I just shared with you all. So we do this by using prime questions, and using prime questions also allows us to assess the patient's understanding of this, because maybe they know some things, but they don't know all things. So if they know some things about it, then you don't have to, you can just verify, yes, that's correct, but you don't have to just tell them, yes, you take it once a day. If they're like, I know I take it once a day. You don't need to sit there and tell them, okay, you're going to take this once a day, you're going to swallow it by mouth, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. So in order to kind of shorten the counseling session up a little bit and to verify and kind of get on major points that you need to get across, we assess their current knowledge about that medication. And so we do that through prime questions. We also want to make it a two-way conversation. That helps it to be like, for them to remember it and for it to feel natural, and you're not just giving them a list of things. We don't want it to be like the little character on the right where we're just yelling, it's the whole things you need to know, this is what you do. We want this to be a good two-way back and forth conversation. So for those prime questions are, what did your doctor tell you the medication is for? How did your doctor tell you to take the medication? And what did your doctor tell you to expect? These three questions can really provide you the framework through your counseling, and it can give you a way to assess what that patient knows about that medication as well, instead of you just spitting out everything you know about it. I did give you that list, so you're probably thinking, well, how do I ask these questions and tell them all about this list and keep this long list in my head? Well, I have a way to do that. What I've done is I have paired the prime question with maybe things that you can have in your mind that's from that long list of over 90 requirements. This is just one way to do it. You're going to get into your own rhythm of remembering and covering everything. So you'll have your own rhythm and style, but this is, I think, a good way to start. What did your doctor tell you the medication is for? When I ask this question, I can be thinking and verifying, does the patient know the name of the drug and the intended use and action of the drug? Like, are they able to tell me those things, or do I need to tell them that thing? When I ask them, what's it for? If they're like, I have no idea, then I need to cover these two things. If they tell me these two things, then we're good, right? Yes, you can tell people to call you if you have questions. Absolutely. And that's actually at the end, one of the things I have at the end of the conversation. We're always here for you to call us if you have any questions. But there are things that patient might not know or might not understand, like what they need. You know a whole lot more about this than they do. So when they are starting a brand new medication, we need to start out with, I need to tell you things about it. Because they're not going to have questions like right away. They have no idea what to do next. And Emily's response is how I would do it as well. But I definitely give them information first, like my top 3 things or the top 2 things here that I want them to know about this medication. And then I leave it as call us back and we can help you. So after I ask the patient this question, what did the doctor tell you the medication is for? Then what do you do? Kind of an odd question, but what do I say, hey, what's the medication for? Then what do I do?
You let them know how they're supposed to take the medicine.
That might be the answer that I give them, but what I'm first going to do, this is kind of cheesy, I'm sorry. This is what I'm first going to do is I'm going to wait and allow the patient to answer. Like, stop talking, which is my hard part, right? I'm going to ask you a question and I'm going to wait and see what they have to say. Then I'm going to respond back by validating the correct information. Yeah, that is what this is for. Yes, or this medication can be used to help your hypertension. You might need to supplement a little bit to that or add on a little further explanation of something. So, well, I know it has something to do with my sugar. Like, yes, your sugar has to do with diabetes, and what this is doing is blah, 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 right? Or if they say something that's totally off the wall, then I might need to ask a follow-up question to really understand where they're coming from. So I could, like, they might be slow up. But first, I'm going to pause and let them answer and see what they say. The next one is, how did your doctor tell you to take the medication? And in this one, I'm thinking the route, dosage forms, and then what action to be taken from this dose. I put those together because this is all about, you know, how often and how I'm actually taking the medication. So that includes if I miss it. So what do I do after I ask this question?
Wait.
Wait, yes, thank you. We're going to allow them to answer. We're going to wait and respond by validating that they said, yes, that's correct. That's a great way to do that. Or, you know, that's exactly how you take that medication. Or, you might add on to it. They say once a day. And you say, yeah, yes, once a day. It's best in the morning. You know, you can kind of add on that little additional tidbit. And the last one is, what did your doctor tell you to expect? So with this one, I'm thinking, expecting on bad things happening. So my side effects, expecting of good things happening. Like, what do I hope this is doing for me? How to monitor that? How do we know if that medication is working? And then anything that might have come up as far as drug interactions, or maybe even the drug-food interactions, how food plays into that, any over-the-counter interactions. This is all of my expectations of bad things, good things, and what to maybe expect as far as interactions go. So what do I do after I ask this question? It was
Right.
wait.
Right.
I know this is fun. I'm like going back and forth. I know it's kind of cheesy, but yes, you allow them to wait. You answer. I think this is the way you like get the two-way conversation now, without it just being like, okay, here's all this stuff. So you ask them and then you let them respond, and then you kind of, that's how we make it feel like it's more natural for the patient, and they're going to remember more because of that. Those are the 3 prime questions, but I always like for bonus to add this one in. What additional questions do you have? They might have additional concerns or something that is just confusing them about the particular disease, or maybe it's about cost, or could be about, you know, hey, how do I use this device? And it could be another thing. So what additional questions do you have? And if they don't really say anything, if there's something about storage is where I'll put this in, and then when I'm going to see them next and what their refill information is. So after I ask them, I allow them to answer. I answer their questions if they have any, and then I'll do teach back. So teach back is the final way for me to verify and know that the patient understood and got what I've been talking about this whole time. And it's what we call it kind of final verification, that they, okay, did they get it? Do they have the major education points about that medication? So it's one way to ensure that they understood the stuff that you just told them. It also allows for one last opportunity for you to correct anything that might be miscommunicated. One way to do this is to always come back with, I know this is a lot of information, or this is confusing, or this is a lot to take in. So could you describe for me, you know, what we talked about, or how to take this medication appropriately? That's, yeah, here's a quote. We talked about a lot of information. Just make sure I covered everything clearly. You want to put the blame back on you. Don't make the patient feel dumb, that they are like, well, you might not have understood everything I said. So tell me again. Don't put it on them. Put it on yourself, like blaming you. Like, I might not have been clear in covering everything. So just to make sure we're on the same page, would you mind telling me how you're going to take this medication and where you're going to store it? Like, if those are the 2 big things you want them to walk away from you knowing. So after that, I'm going to let them, you know, demonstrate their understanding. I validate, I summarize, and like, yes, okay, we went through all this stuff, and I kind of just said this, but I always like to leave my patients the biggest thing I want you to remember is this one, you know, and kind of give that last little bit before I say goodbye and get the in-the-ER closure. So what about this situation? Has anybody ever heard this from patients who guys that work in community pharmacy? Lauren's like, yes.
Yes.
And I can see you. I can see a third of y'all. Here we go. If I click the pages, I can see more and more. So some of y'all have heard this. oh, but I've been taking this for years. I don't need this. I don't need counseling. I don't need a pharmacist. I gotta go. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late. Right? Like Alice in Wonderland. That's a funny quote. I've been around longer than any of these drugs have, honey. I'm a nurse. That's another good one. Because they have to, and if they are a nurse or another pharmacist, or they may have, yes, a different level of understanding and education than someone who is not in the healthcare field. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't counsel them, or just making sure that they know something unique or the appropriate way to even use a medication. Daughter's pharmacist. So refills are, to me, are really a great education and monitoring opportunity. Even though they've been taking us for a while, it allows us to have an abbreviated short conversation. And now we can think about other things in addition to just what this is supposed to do. But now we can ask them, like, well, actually how it's been going, and look at their adherence to it and the compliance to that regimen. If it's been going well, if it's been doing what we hope it'll do, or if it's been giving them problems. For things that require more than just swallowing a tablet, maybe that administration technique and coming back and saying, well, periodically we just wanted to check the device is working, and we're able to work the device appropriately. There's been changes in it. Blame the device, blame something else. Your goal is to make sure the patient is educated. There may be a situation where you're making sure that the medication isn't crushed or cut or chewed, or that they're not swallowing a suppository, which has happened. So there's a lot of things that really helps the show and tell approach is really effective, and refills does not necessarily excuse you from counseling, that they know everything about it. It is astounding the statistics that people get missed even on the first time that they're getting the medication. There's a lot of funny videos and things about people doing things wrong, like swallowing suppositories. You may have seen, there's a really funny clip of House, if y'all know of that medical show. He's very sarcastic, dry humor. Hugh Laurie stars in that. And he was asking about interviewing a patient. She's like, my inhaler's just not working. My inhaler's not working. And she took it and she sprayed it on her neck. He's like, show me how your inhaler works. And she sprayed it on her neck. And that's like the exact reason why we're asking these questions. Yes, that was a TV show, but yes, those things happen in real life too. So we have these prime questions. So it might not make sense though for someone who has been taking the medication to say, well, what did your doctor tell us it's for? So we can modify this for the refill, something that I've been taking for a while. How could you modify this question into something that's maybe more appropriate for a refill?
Maybe if is the medicine working properly, and are you seeing the signs that your doctor and you discussed when you were first initially put on the medication?
Yeah, exactly. I like that. This one is, I think, instead of I just changed the verbs of what did your doctor tell you to do? Like, what do you take it for? I think that's the only way I did it. The way you did it too, I like that as well. This can help you prevent potential drug therapy problems. There's knowledge, the patient's knowledge about the medication. So I think it's still a really valid question to ask. You're going to do the same thing. You ask them and you allow them to answer and you respond. That's how we make this a good back and forth conversation. We think, how did your doctor tell you to take this? How did your doctor tell you to take this medication? How might we change that for a refill?
How are you taking this medication?
Yeah, absolutely. And Emery, your response is great. It's coming up actually. How do you take this medication? How are you taking this medication? I love it. I love the more of the present tense that you did on that one. How are you doing this? And when you ask that question, one, it lets you know if they're doing the right administration technique, like if they're spraying inhalers on their neck, or if they're crushing tablets they're not supposed to be. It can also be an opening to see about their adherence and compliance to the regimen. The last one is, what did your doctor tell you to expect in this medication? So how might we modify this for the refill?
How is this medication affecting your condition? Something like that.
Yes.
Did it
That
have any side effects?
yes. There's a lot you can ask. So, the first one, how is this expected for your condition? The first suggestion, I usually that's kind of the second example here in the slide of how is it working for you. It's the same question that you said, but it's just putting a little bit more in patient terms about working for you rather than saying condition and the word effectiveness. But what you're doing is you're assessing the effectiveness of the medication. Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? And then the flip side of that are what problems are you experiencing with medication? Now they've been taking it, so it's not so much of what do we expect, or here are the major side effects that might happen to you. We can actually just say, well, what is happening to you? Have you been experiencing any side effects or any problems with taking this medication? Do you feel lightheaded at all? Do you feel nausea at all? So refills are a great way to look at how medications are working and to reinforce education about the medications and how to use them. So I love refills because they have now personal experience with that medication. This could be a whole, I mean, there are certificate courses in health literacy. I mean, there's a whole area of health literacy. So this one slide definitely does not do it justice. But I did want to mention that health literacy is a big issue, a big problem. I mean, it's kind of interesting to me, and that does vary by region and things, but that there can be a high percentage, like greater than 50% of people who might come to you if you're in a rural area that can't read. And health literacy doesn't mean that they can't even read a children's book, for example, of any literature. It's, I can read the words, but I don't know what you say, take one tablet by mouth once daily or twice daily. Like, that's very jargony for us. And they might not be able to apply that of what you actually mean by that, or every 12 hours. So health literacy doesn't mean that they can't read, but it actually the rate of even just literacy to me is kind of surprising for the United States. With health literacy, looks can be deceiving, so you do want to ask for help for all. They might seem like they're really well affluent. They could be really successful in business, in finance. They're like, well, this person is, a really well-to-do person here. Like, I don't need to tell them anything. They can understand what's on the bottle. That might not be true. Health literacy is different than just literacy in general. This also can be the situation somebody said, well, I'm a nurse. Oh, okay, great. That you have a higher level, but there might be just a couple of points that I want to make sure we're on the same page about. That maybe you've been seeing in practice, or that you just don't want to assume. I would rather over-educate than under-educate. I would rather not miss someone, right? Worriness or illness can cloud understanding, so they might be fully capable in when everything's going well, but they're all worried and stressed out. They might not just be hearing everything and absorbing it. So in order to do this, we have to give really clear expectations and very non-medical jargony terminology to overcome these. So recognizing patients who need extra help. These are just some little tips and tricks around it. Like if you ask them questions and they don't really know the name of it, but they can tell you it's a white round tablet, or this one's bigger and oval and oblong, that might give you in. Some patients have said, well, I just can't see it. I forgot my glasses. They're kind of embarrassed. They don't want to say, no, I can't read this bottle. So if you hear these types of things, that might clue you in on, oh, okay, maybe they can't read this and I need to do something else. And then you can color code things for them and go to other techniques to help them manage their medications. This re-emphasizes that same point about using everyday words. Repeating things is great and is okay. You should repeat things. You'll probably repeat it 2 or 3 times and then they're going to remember it. So encouraging is great. Using teach back and show me will be so helpful. Like for the spraying on the neck thing, I mean, wouldn't have gotten that unless they just said show me. And I've had someone try to take a suppository. That's real. I've also had someone who didn't understand a vaginal tablet. They still wanted to take the vaginal tablet by mouth, just thinking, well, the tablet's going to work in that area, which in reality you actually insert the tablet vaginally. So that took a little while for me to explain to someone. But so these things are real. So when you put a counseling session together, we really talked a lot today about the specific components of what you say about that medication. The whole experience starts with identifying yourself and saying, this, I'd like to sit down and talk with you about this medication. And that you're assuring a patient understanding and asking open-ended questions. We kind of do that we do both of those things through the prime questions. This list that gives you kind of what the overall successful counseling session looks like. And you're going to use a checklist very similar to this in your small group and reviewing a counseling session. So you're going to see this again. So in summary, pharmacists, we have to offer medication education for new prescriptions in Arkansas. Use those 3 prime questions to make it a conversation so they can understand and doesn't feel like you're just kind of yelling a lot of stuff at them, and use clear words. So that's the main things for today. We do have an assignment, a communications assignment, and I want to walk you through what that is. This is a brand new thing that we're trying here at UAMS. So you are the first people to try this. You are the very first class. Yay! Isn't that exciting? So we're going to use a new thing called My Dispense. We do hope, yes, guinea pigs. So we want to use this throughout all classes, and we're trying to design strategically how to use it, when to use it. But yes, you're the guinea pigs right now. It is called My Dispense, and you can get to the UAMS link by mydispense.uams.edu. And I want you to complete this activity by the next small group on the 2nd. So you go to this, you use your UAMS login to log in. Everybody is at, use your UAMS login. And if it doesn't work, it might just be you have to use your student ID at uams.edu. When you log in, you should see this. And if you don't, that's when you need to let me know, or you might need to use not just your username, your ID, but your ID would be added at uams.edu. You should see this. You click on View Tutorials. Can y'all see my mouse? I'm looking at Morgan, Katie, Raven. Can y'all see it? My mouse?
Yes, we could see it.
Okay. You can click here on View Tutorials. When you click that, it will pop up this box called P1 Communication, where medication education is the first exercise. You will click that to get to the into the exercise, but when your exercise is completed, it'll bring you back to this page, and you have to submit for marking here in the middle. So to actually submit for grading, they call it marking because these folks are from Australia that made this. You have to submit this button. And these are being graded. I can see it on the back end. So make sure you click submit for marking. When you enter into the activity, it'll look like this. It's pretty neat. It simulates the dispensing side. There's a lot of things that you can click on here. And you are free and welcome to click on any parts like the computer monitor here. You can click on the barcoding scanner, you can click on the phone, you can click on, like all these things. If you want to play around and look at all these little tabs at the bottom, you're welcome to do so. This person's going to come and ask you, my doctor recommended this medication, Advil. We're going to start just simple OTC that maybe everybody's heard of. Can you tell me about it? So to start interaction with her, you actually can click the patient. So you click her, and what will come up, this screen will come up, and you have options to fact find or like to ask her questions. So there's all these things that you can ask her about. Like you want to ask, okay, what is your name and address? You want to ask her how much alcohol she uses. previous medications. And then there's some more things that you should probably see down here called prime questions that you might want to ask her. So to ask these, you just click on it. And when you click on it, she will actually respond back and her answers will pop back up. So you can click through any of those. And then under your counseling, right here on the left, you click counseling, a blank box will pop up where you can enter in your counseling using over 90. And then you'll hit recommend OTC to end the exercise. So that's the main thing for this exercise, is just to get in with her, ask her any questions, see what she says, go to counseling, type up your counseling based on over 90, and then hit recommend OTC. You can feel free to click on anything else if you just wanted to play around with it, but that's how you would actually complete this exercise.
I have a question.
Yeah. And that's it.
Okay, it's kind of going out when you say it. You said and write the counseling. Write your counseling based on what?
Over 90, the over 90 where we went the whole list.
Over 90. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes, I said that kind of quickly. Yes, our over 90. So all of those counseling points that we went through today, we went through line by line, thinking about all of those and finding what's appropriate for Advil.
Thank you.
Is that what that attachment is?
No. It's just this. And then Jeffrey said he logged in with his ID at uams.edu, and that worked, I think. So I think you need to do that. You just need to go to this link. And to complete that exercise by the second. Any other questions about that? And that is all we have for today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. We appreciate it. We appreciate you also walking through the exercise with us. And we hope to see you again on small group day. We go over this and have all this in there. And
Thank you so much.
Everything.
Y'all have a great day.
The PowerPoint is already posted.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day, guys. Have a good weekend.